80-Bit Newscast. We are your hosts.
Penguin and Termite. I am Penguin.
I am Termite, and we will run you through the weekly video game news that happened, and man, is there a lot. We are here every Monday night on twitch.tv/80bitpodsmash at 8 p.m. Excuse us for being a few minutes late, as we had some technical difficulties with my computer, the host. And what are we going to run through tonight?
We are going to run through a bunch of fun news stories. The highlights are we're going to be going over the things that were announced in the Nintendo Direct last week. When was it?
I don't remember what day it was. Thursday.
It was like Wednesday. Last Wednesday or Thursday, there was a Nintendo Direct. We'll go over all the news from that. I think it was Thursday. And then also this weekend was BlizzCon, so we'll be covering that, the kind of major announcements from that as well. Yes, we know that we have been pretty critical of BlizzCon lately, or Blizzard lately, but we're critical of EA, and we cover EA stuff when they make announcements. So it's part of the news, part of the gaming industry. So we'll be covering the stuff from BlizzCon. We are going to be talking about some of Microsoft's moves towards more accessibility, which is pretty cool. Read that just before we started, and that was pretty cool. And if we have time, we'll get to a couple of extra news stories. There may be a Twisted Metal TV show in the works, so we'll talk about that. And more Microsoft news. They are pioneering some technology that might allow some improvements to backwards compatible games from previous generations. So all that and more. It's been a week. It's been a lot. That may not seem like a lot of numerical news stories, but there's a lot to unpack in each one. So, that's what we will be covering today's newscast. So, as always, please fill the chat with your comments, your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, or your trollings, and we will respond to those when we are done going through our news stories. So we will scroll back down if we need to. If you are watching later on YouTube or on the Twitch recaps, then just enjoy the show. And if you have thoughts, comments, and questions, then please reach out to us at any one of our social medias, which Termite will tell you about right now. So
you can go to 80bitpodsmash.com. That's our landing website with links to all of our podcast platforms and our RSS feed for our weekly video game podcast, smashing together ideas that you care about with video games. And those episodes go live on Mondays at midnight. You can also find us here at twitch.tv/80bitpodsmash every Monday and Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern. Monday for our newscast, which you are here for now, and Wednesday for our gameplay live streams, where Penguin and Termite alternate between each other, streaming the things that we dig. And let's go straight into the Nintendo Direct. What had happened?
So yes, last Thursday or Wednesday, one of those days, Nintendo, like a day before they revealed they were going to be doing a Nintendo Direct, which is the first proper Nintendo Direct we've had since September of last year. Every other Direct has been focused on specific games like Pokemon or Animal Crossing, and no general announcements from Nintendo. And I have to say, we've been underwhelming this one. But let's break it down.
Nice pun.
So obviously there was a lot of, it was so unintended, but I wish it was intended because that would have been a great one. There's a link we've got that we'll, I guess, link off in the episode descriptions or whatever, that has everything that was announced, but we're going to mostly talk about the things that we care about. So the big announcement they led off with was new Smash characters were announced, but it didn't seem like a Smash Bros. Announcement at first.
Ooh, it was very well done.
It seemed like a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 DLC announcement. Mm-hmm. And what it was Rex, the main character from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which people have been clamoring for Smash, for, since the Switch dropped, basically, or since the game came out for the Switch, who originally was, Sakurai was like, this character came too late for me to include him in Smash Bros. Like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 released only, a few months before Smash, so he said, so Sakurai was like, this character, we weren't able to include him this round. But, of course, it's, we've had 2 DLC packs since then, so... Anyway, so Rex was all like, where is Pyrrha, who's the supporting character in that game? Where's Pyrrha? I can't find her. I need to go find Pyrrha. And everyone thought it was going to be a DLC related to Pyrrha's disappearance. Then he's like, oh, Pyrrha, there you are. I see you. And she's like, sorry, Rex. I got invited to Smash. Yeah. So the main character was not included in Smash in the DLC, but the new character is Pyrrha. And they also confirmed there's an additional character that you can switch between, probably down B, like Zelda's old technique. So you can play and switch between Pyrrha and a character named Mithra at any time. So Xenoblade Chronicles 2 representation in Smash is Pyrrha and Mithra. Poor Rex is discluded.
All exciting and all fair and well and great. I love the different. This is the second time, the very first time there has been an additional character from the Xenoblade Chronicles series since Shulk was added to the game, and so I'm glad to see that they're revisiting that world. They're going to expand on it, add new stages and music, etc. The problem I have with it all is they're just more sword characters,
more anime sword characters, more Japanese. Literally the last two in a row. I love Sephiroth. I'm glad and pleased that Xenoblade's getting more representation. I guess I haven't played any of the games, so I can't really.
Good. Yeah,
they're good. Okay, well, I might have to visit that series. I know apparently it's sold out in Japan. That was a little side piece of news after the announcement of Mithra and Pyrrha. Since then, rather, I should say, like copies have sold been flying off the shelves in Japan. Either way, I'm happy for Xenoblade fans and stuff like that. But yes, I agree. It's like more anime swords characters, and there's only 2 left now at this point. There's only 2 more for this DLC pack, so the chances of us getting a character that we are hoping for are starting to whittle down with each successive quarter that passes by. Again, there's a prominent leaker that says it's going to be Crash Bandicoot and Monster Hunter, and the support for that leak is due to supposedly Nintendo is going to be throwing a concert to celebrate all the DLC characters being released, and 2 of the songs, one is from Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, and the other is from Monster Hunter World. So take that for what it is. It's the grain of salt that it is. But nevertheless, Mithra and Pyrrha have been confirmed for Smash. Their moveset does look really fun, though, I will give it that. It looks like they'll be a lot of fun to play, I think.
And it's slated... Oh, go ahead.
I guess never mind. I was going to say it's the first character that has the switching between characters, but then again, I just remembered that Pokemon Trainer has that mechanic. So.
Yes, it does. It's slated to come out in March, but we don't have a specific date yet. Nice. Next up...
all the DLCs are supposed to be out by December, or is it November of this year?
I don't remember.
It's like last quarter of this year, so they all should be out this year, which is nice. But,
yep.
Cool.
The next announcement that I care about, or we might care about, is Mario Golf. This was highly anticipated and lacking lately. I don't know when the last Mario Golf game had come out, but Super Rush is what it's. It's Mario Golf Super Rush was announced for the Switch and comes out on the 25th of June. It has optional Wii golf-like motion controls and a story mode where you can play as your Wii, and it showed characters running around a world map, which looked really, really cool. It looks super charming, and if you're into Mario Golf, it is everything you would want in a Mario Golf title and more. So there you have that. They have
the one thing that was cool about that, I will just comment on real quick, is the all play at once mode or whatever, the rush mode. So it's instead of each taking turns, you're all playing at once, and so you're racing basically to the next hole, which I thought that was kind of a cool gimmick. That was a cool very Mario twist. So it's a weird mix between Mario Golf and Mario Kart, which could be fun. So.
Yeah, I wonder how you could score a mini golf game with your family. If it was everyone go at once and the fastest one to get into the hole gets a bonus, but then you have the par number of hits. Anyway, next up on that list of announcements was, and I just have to laugh at the title.
I hate this title so much.
Project Triangle Strategy.
So dumb. Which is made from the same group that did Octopath Traveler,
which was called Project Octopath Traveler, and then they just dropped the project. So this game could theoretically be called Triangle Strategy. When it comes out. And it looks like a giant love letter to Final Fantasy Tactics, and there is a shadow drop of the demo. You can play it right now. So that was pretty sweet.
I was going to say, did you play it?
I have not yet, no.
It looks like Octopath Traveler with a tactical version of Octopath Traveler is what it made me think of.
They showed off the tactical battleground with all the little squares, movement ranges and heights, etc. They focused a lot on the environment interactions, which was kind of new, where you could cast fire or cast ice onto a fire, which melts into water, and then blast it with thunder, and it would do this area of effect damage, very reminiscent of Divinity Original Sin 2.
Yeah.
And then they had this new mechanic where you can smack enemies into friends, and then the friends would hit them, so you can kind of collaborate or strategize where to place your your army so that you can smack enemies into each other, or even surround the enemies and do a double attack, one on each side. The one thing that wasn't clear about it that I want to know more is, are there job-like classes? Because there were in Bravely Default, and I believe you could tweak abilities like a job class in Octopath Traveler to some extent, but each character having a different sort of moveset. So we don't really know what that's like yet. Maybe that's kind of fleshed out in the demo, but I'm not really sure. But I'm really excited about it. It comes out in next year, 2022, sometime.
Nice. Yeah, I have nothing against the game. The trailer and stuff was way too long. They went into way more, like, for an only 50-minute Nintendo Direct, where expectations were already very high because they hadn't released anything in a while, and there are lots of games that we've heard nothing about yet. I was just like, stop talking about this stupid game. Just move on. My son was watching it with me, and even he was getting he was not happy. He was like, all right, I'm bored now. Let's do something else. And I'm like, I want to watch this Direct, but I don't want to watch this trailer anymore. So yeah, that was that.
And that trailer took itself very seriously, which was pretty funny. The next thing on the list of things that was announced that I cared about was Age of Calamity DLC was announced. There's an expansion pass, 2 waves of DLC due in June, and then the second one in November of this year, and it's priced at, I believe it's $20 American dollars. But what you'll get in them is kind of only hinted at, like some extra characters.
Yeah, they were not very clear. Yeah, there's gonna be more characters and more missions, I guess.
Yeah,
but I don't. Yeah, I mean, I know what that means. I kind of know what that means in relation to Hyrule Warriors, the base game.
Yep.
But I don't necessarily know how they've tweaked it in Age of Calamity. So, yeah, I want Age of Calamity. I haven't gotten it yet, but it's kind of not. It's kind of middling on my list. If I had to pick a Koei Tecmo game right now to play, it would be Persona 5 Strikers. Personally.
Yeah, never saw that coming.
Yeah, right. Cool. The big announcement, this one, I want to lead into this because they finally showed Eiji Aonuma. He came up on the screen, who is the producer is Nintendo's head of the Zelda base. He is the Zelda king. He is the guy who has been in charge of the franchise for I don't even know how long, but he was the lead guy of Breath of the Wild. And the very first thing out of his bag is everyone's like, oh, it's Eiji Aonuma. Oh, Breath of the Wild 2. And of course, the very first thing out of his mouth was, I know you're all very excited about Breath of the Wild 2. I've got nothing to share to right now. We were all collectively, the entire fan base just deflated. You could hear the broken hearts and tears across the world. Yeah, so that was disappointing.
Funnily enough, before the Direct even started, I was like, don't even expect Breath of the Wild 2. Just don't. Right. I predicted it.
Yeah.
And then I thought I was going to eat my words when I saw Aonuma, and then he said there was none, so it was both tears and yes, I was right.
It's one of those things you want to be wrong about, but you're at least vindicated to know that you're right. Yeah. Anyways, he did announce that they were porting, they were going to be releasing this year in July, they're going to be releasing a port of Skyward Sword.
Yes.
So it's the only Zelda game that has not been ported to any of the mainline 3D Zelda games, I should say, that has been ported to a advanced console. It's been trapped there on the Wii and Wii U through backwards compatibility. It's been trapped for a long time now. So the fact that it's playable now, going to be playable on the Switch, is a big deal. It's mostly a big deal because the big question that we had for a long time was, how are you going to translate the motion controls?
Yeah.
The Switch has motion controls, but you can't use motion controls in docked or handheld mode, obviously. So that was the big question, and they answered it.
They did.
So I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, so you just use the right joystick thumbstick to aim your sword, essentially. You just hit down on the thumbstick, and he swipes down, left, right, up, down, etc. I think it's a brilliant way to handle it. It's the best way.
Fairly elegant, yeah.
Yeah, there's no other, unless they completely remove the mechanic from the game, and that would involve a lot of code modifications and such, and rebuilding everything. So this was the most elegant way to get rid of emotion, or at least come up with a hybrid way to do it. I
just hope that I hope that you don't have to swipe the joystick and press a button. I was hoping that like in Smash Bros, you can just flick the joystick in the direction that you want. That's what I got. That was the feeling I got from it as well. But it gives me hope that they might be able to port. They might be able to do something similar with Metroid Prime 2 and 3.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And just turn them into regular first-person shooters. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, well, because on the GameCube, Echoes was 2, and the original Metroid Prime, they both had regular, like, first-person controls.
Right.
So it would be a shoe-in for that, for the Switch. But what's cool about this is, one, like you said, it's the first big time that this title has existed outside of the Wii or the Wii U, and that's great. But now we have Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD, both also trapped on the Wii U, that are kind of the last of like 5 games left to be ported off of the Wii U onto the Switch. And I really hope that there's some sort of dual pack coming with those 2 titles.
Yeah, and there's a rumor that they're coming. Yeah, is the and the only one of the disappointing things about this Nintendo Direct is this Nintendo Direct came out like 3 days before 3 days before The Legend of Zelda's 35th anniversary,
which was yesterday.
So just like Mario had a 35th anniversary and some celebration of that, a significant celebration of that. Fans were expecting a celebration for Legend of Zelda's 35th anniversary, and nothing yet. That's not to say, I mean, it's still a long year. They still just might, due to COVID delays, they may be celebrating that later in the year. In fact, that's what kind of my expectation is they wouldn't just throw one of their best franchises under the bus like that. They probably just don't have, like, Skyward Sword was like the only thing they had, prepared for it probably. So they're probably just, they're like, we're going to delay our celebration. I wish they had just said something about it though. Like, Zelda turns 35 in a couple days, and we're pleased to announce Skyward Sword. You know what I mean? So, but alongside Skyward Sword, they also announced some custom Joy-Cons.
Yes.
That one will be the right one will be molded after the Hylian Shield, and the left one will be molded after the Master Sword. I think I had that reversed because in Skyward Sword, Link is right-handed. So right hand is Master Sword, left hand is Hylian Shield.
And they're highly sought after. Bots have went after them. Scalpers have crazy prices on eBay. But I have secured a pre-order for the Joy-Cons. And I'm very excited. I cannot wait to add them.
You pounced on that like a panther.
Oh, it was immediate. Like, as soon as Wario64 tweeted, they went. I was like, bloop. Actually, I pre-ordered them twice. Once was through GameStop, which I don't want to do at all, and the other one was Best Buy, which I feel better and more comfortable about using Best Buy. So I had canceled my GameStop pre-order and kept my Best Buy pre-order. That was all before I knew the scalpers were going to get crazy. But I digress.
I want them, but as soon as I saw them, I was like, I want these. It would be awesome to have them, but they are truly, purely cosmetic. I don't need them.
Right.
And I knew it was going to be it was just going to be stressful to try to get a hold of them. So I was like, I'm going to let this one go. So I'm happy you have them, because I'll be able to ogle them and hold them in my hands and worship them from.
You better wash your hands first.
You must be pure before you enter the Holy of Holies.
And the release date for all of this is July 16th, which is like really close to my birthday. So happy birthday to Termite! As all of this drops, I'm gonna be in Zelda heaven. And the last final announcement, which no one expected whatsoever, it came out of absolutely nowhere. No leaks, no speculation, no hype. Is just Splatoon 3. Apparently, we're getting to be coming out in 2022.
Bows and like a different area, like a new city and like a desert area. So whatever implications that has. I mean, the entire games, as far as my understanding, was they happened under the sea. Or at least like above the ocean or something.
Nope.
I don't know. No, that was never the case. Okay, well, never mind. Either way, it's like a desert area. That's all we have. That's all the information. It's coming out. It's supposedly going to be coming out next year in 2022. I thought it was funny that the Nintendo Direct specifically tried to set the expectation, saying, we're going to be talking about games that are coming out in 2021.
Yeah. And
then half the games on this list that we've talked about are all coming out in 2022.
Well, actually, Splatoon 3 is the one exception. Project Triangle Strategy, yes, it's coming out in 2022, but at least the demo was now. Like, now you can play it. There's a link, like, there's something relevant to you for 2021. Splatoon 3, 2022 is not, like, that's the one that completely broke all the rules. It was like, everything here is
I'm like, if they're willing to show Splatoon 3 off, and they're not willing to show anything about Breath of the Wild too. Like, come on. Yeah. I mean, I guess they probably showed about as much of I bet they've shown about as much of Splatoon 3 as they've shown of Breath of the Wild 2 so far.
Yep.
But yeah. Anyways, so that's all. That's the major announcements. Everything else was just
a whole lot of games that a lot of people hopefully care about that was not us.
But we don't. Yeah, exactly. So as far as the big ones go, nothing new from nothing new from the mainline Marios, which is fine. We weren't crazily expecting that, although it's if there's a Breath of the Wild 2, you'd think there might be a follow-up to Mario Odyssey coming out soon, since they came out roughly within the same time period. But nevertheless, so nothing mainline from Mario, nothing from Zelda other than Skyward Sword, which is again a port of an already existing game. Nothing from Metroid at all.
Yep.
And nothing from Bayonetta 3. Mm-hmm. So kind of some of the big heavy hitters we've been waiting for news for a while.
And Shigeru Miyamoto told us that Pikmin 4 is done. Years ago, told us it was done. And we all expected it on the 3DS, and then it never happened, and now we're on the Switch, so we don't know what's going on with Pikmin 4. No announcements there either. No Star Fox, no F-Zero. What was Retro Studios working on before they were given Metroid Prime 4? Nobody knows. We still don't know. There was years since Tropical Freeze. That was the last Retro Studios game. The gap between Tropical Freeze and when they were handed Metroid Prime 4 is years. What was that game? Anyway, BlizzCon.
So moving along, exactly. No, it was. I will just sort of put a period on the end of that sentence by saying it was a fairly disappointing Nintendo Direct, all things considered.
It kind of was, especially the first one after like 500 days since the last one.
Yeah. So, whatever. All right. So next, so we're talking about BlizzCon now, so we'll sidle into that. So always a big time for gaming to a lot of degrees. Blizzard Entertainment is still a Goliath in the industry, despite some of their recent missteps. And they're sort of selling out to Activision. But, Blizzard has had their annual... So this was technically like 2020's BlizzCon, because they didn't have one at all last year.
Right.
And I don't know if it was labeled as 2020's BlizzCon, but, so having it in February was very out of the ordinary for them. Plus, there was, like, again, an entire year where no BlizzCon happened. Mm-hmm. That said, also kind of underwhelming, all things considered. Before this, I think we had talked a couple news weeks ago. Before this, it was confirmed that Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2 were being delayed till 2022 at the earliest, or at least rather they said they aren't expecting profits from those games this year.
Right.
So, so being that those were two of the biggest games they had in the pipeline, that left them with the following three announcements, pretty much. They announced the latest content drop for World of Warcraft, patch 9.1, Chains of Domination. They revealed a Blizzard Arcade collection, which includes some of their classic original titles that were released on arcades, like Lost Vikings, and I forget what the other ones were.
Blackthorn, Rock and Roll Racing.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then they announced that WoW Classic was getting a Burning Crusade servers. Or the current servers are being upgraded to Burning Crusade, but they're also keeping classic servers alive. And then when you log in after BC is released, they will allow you to choose whether you want to keep your character on classic servers or advance them to Burning Crusade, which I thought was an interesting way of handling that.
Yeah. It's complicated now. There's 3 branches of WoW.
Yeah, if you want to do both, if you want your character to be cloned, basically, you can pay for that, of course.
Of course.
They also are allowing people, the other announcement they dropped kind of later in BlizzCon was, for people like me who haven't been keeping up with Classic and don't have a level 60 character, you can one time, I think you can one time for free, and then you can one time pay, maybe, or maybe it's one time paid, I don't know. You can basically get a level 58 character that can go right into Outland. For BC, so that's cool, I guess. Burning Crusade is coming to WoW Classics. Like you said, there will be 3 full branches of World of Warcraft, splitting the player base across.
So I get doing a WoW Classic because the world changed in Cataclysm. Like things actually changed in the in Azeroth, but in the Dark Portal area, whatever you want to call that realm, nothing changed ever. So, like, theoretically, you could start a new character in mainline WoW and then jump through the Dark Portal and then do a screen-by-screen comparison, and the environments, quests, and everything looks the same.
Yeah, but I think what they're trying to do is, like, they basically want to capture the end game feel of that. Because you can go to Outland and it's the same as it was in 2007, 8? I don't remember.
Something like that, yep.
However, you can't go to Outland and raid Black Temple with a group of 70s.
That's true, right.
You can get a group of max level. You can, but it would be way more hassle. So, they're just trying to capture that, the same feeling of Classic. They want to just bring it forward. This is entirely due to the fact that they just don't have any more content to add to Classic. So I think that they're trying to get it. I mean, they've been talking about this for a while. It seems like we're just going to be getting all the expansions over again. So eventually there'll be... I don't know how far they'll go with it, but I guarantee you they'll at least go up to Wrath, because Wrath of Lich King was, again, the most popular WoW expansion, most beloved at least. So yeah, they'll go up to Wrath of Lich King for sure. But then that's 4 versions of WoW that they have to sustain.
It's getting a little crazy.
Exactly.
Blizzard is losing track of things, I feel like.
It's all Activision's influence, man. Like, that's what Activision's new mandate is for every single one of their properties. Because of the success of Call of Duty, every single one of their properties, they want a mobile game, like a mobile app. So there's going to be, Diablo Immortal's just the start. There's going to be a WoW Pet Battle. Supposedly, there's a WoW Pet Battle mobile game they'll be including. They want a free-to-play Warzone-like model game with every one of their properties, and then they want a mainline entry. So that's their mandate. That's what they've decided works. So we're just going to be seeing a lot of
them. So
we're going to be seeing a lot of junk from both Blizzard and Activision, I think. Anyways, so speaking of junk from Blizzard, Diablo 4 announced the 4th class for Diablo 4. That's the Rogue. So it's very much like a mixture between the Amazon of Diablo 2 and the Assassin from Diablo 2. Throw a little bit of the Demon Hunter from Diablo 3 in there. But the flavor they've wrapped it in is the Rogues from Diablo 1. So canonically speaking, your character is going to be like the Rogues from the original Diablo 1. There was a character class called the Rogues, and the Rogue Encampment was where you started in Diablo 2. So there's a lot of familiarity wrapped up around the Rogues in that game. And
there's a World of Warcraft class named that.
So Rogue is basically just like shorthand for sneaky thief character in any RPG in any video game ever. So so bows, knives, stealth, all that finesse, dexterity, all that cool, all that flashy stuff is the Diablo 4 4th class. So... and then finally, the last thing in our BlizzCon discussion that was announced is still in the Diablo realm, they are releasing Diablo 2 Resurrected, remaster, enhanced version of Diablo 2 for both PC and consoles. So it's the first time Diablo 2 will be coming to consoles, which is kind of a cool little bit there. But looks good. I mean, it's a proper remaster, kind of 3D models. Everything's all enhanced, and all the effects are all shiny and pretty and stuff like that. So.
And what's interesting about this is the follow-on conversation from back at the end of January, where we had Blizzard's Team 1 dissolved, and Vicarious Visions was moved by Activision from their own studio into Blizzard and given this. So that happened, it was announced, and we know that the development of this Diablo 2 Resurrection obviously must have changed trajectories, because that Blizzard Team 1 did Warcraft 3 Reforged, and we saw how that came out not so well. And now we have Diablo 2 Resurrected revealed for the first time, and we don't know how much of that was made by Team 1 or how much Vicarious Visions is taking over. And there's a lot of more details about the features of that game and what the remake looks like and that, but we're just going to have to go past that because we don't really have time. But I just wanted to touch, put a pin back, circle about a month ago, go back and look at our old newscast where we reported on that exact change in development teams, and you can get a little bit more context for what you're seeing.
Sure, yeah, I will just say in relation to that, if you didn't like Warcraft 3 Reforged, know that at least a different development studio will be bringing Diablo Resurrected across the finish line. So
the biggest
for whatever
difference
that's worth to you
is that they've replaced. Well, they actually clobbered the original Warcraft 3 with Reforged, so you can't separate them. The online infrastructure for Warcraft 3 was the same, so they actually broke a previous existing title. This is now completely separate. If you want your original experience for Diablo 2, you can do that and be able to play Resurrection,
which I can because I have it installed.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Sweet. So our last story that we have time for is Microsoft has pioneered some new standards for developers to make games more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll let you take it from here because it's pretty interesting stuff.
This is awesome. So this is like Microsoft's big follow-on to they made that adaptive controller in the past, and they've always like spoke up for accessibility in gaming, and this is like their next chance to continue to do that at a development level. So this is from Kate Sanchez over on The Verge, and Microsoft is expanding its accessibility efforts with a new program for evaluating Xbox and PC games. Today, its gaming accessibility team announced that developers can send their games to be evaluated for accessibility and tested by players with disabilities. The program was announced alongside updates to the Xbox accessibility guidelines that were released in 2020. So, quote, developers now have the option to send Microsoft their Xbox or PC title and have it analyzed and validated against the recommendations provided in the XAGs, says an Xbox blog post, so you can go check that out. The XAG is the Xbox accessibility guidelines, and they include thorough explanations of inclusive design considerations for developers, and they are now updated to include clearer language, additional context, and implementation examples. Game test reports include feedback from players with disabilities, as well as links to information on inclusive design, relevant nonprofits, and accessibility experts. Any issues found during the test will be, quote, noted with reproduction steps, screenshots, and other information to help the developer understand what aspect of a given experience may be challenging for certain gamers with disabilities. This is incredible.
This is really cool.
Like, you and I could make a game and then send it off to these like analysts, and they would come back with like screenshots, a full test report with links to nonprofits and experts in the field for this specific type of disability. And wow, so many good resources. There's like no excuse for a developer now to overlook accessibility.
Sure. Yeah, I only hope that Microsoft is employing people with disabilities for the role.
That's exactly what this is.
That was what the vibe I got, but it said players. Like, I mean, and I get that, like, yes, obviously if they were playtesting games, they are. I would have it may have just been The Verge's language. I don't know if it was in the official statement, but like, I guess the only thing I'm worried about is that Microsoft's gonna be like, we have some volunteer players who have disabilities. I'm like, nah, you pay them for their time, Microsoft, and more importantly, you employ them, because that would just be a great opportunity for people who have a passion for video games, who want to develop and hone skills of game testing. We just had a whole episode on it, drop a few weeks ago. That would be a great career for a lot of people with disabilities that only they could do. It would be amazing. So that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping is happening. It sounds like that's what's happening, but you never know with Microsoft. Right. But nevertheless, it's still a great program. It's still definitely leaps and bounds further than we were even a year ago. So.
And it's cool that, like, there's all these one-offs, like The Last of Us Part 2, right? Not tied to Microsoft at all, but had, like, it won awards for the most accessibility options in a game ever. It was, like, 70-plus options. Yeah. So it'd be cool to have stuff like that standardized across everything. And I think this is the first step in that direction. For sure. When this churns out, I mean, everything's about capitalism. That's the sad, grim reality of video gaming in the entire industry. It's about money. If you can market a game towards gamers with disabilities to get that market, that's what they're doing. They're trying to expand their market to those with disabilities. If it's lucrative and it makes enough money, then this would be standardized across the entire industry. So Nintendo will start taking it seriously, and PlayStation will start taking it seriously. And then eventually, it'll be ubiquitous, and that'll be awesome for disabled gamers. Yep.
All right, well, then that was our last story. We don't have any comments in the chat, so we will just stop there. But, thank you for watching our show. Thank you for checking out the news, and we will be back with you Wednesday. I will be streaming, and I will be streaming Code Vein, so if you are catching this before Wednesday, February 24th, then, you can see me stream that. Other than that, I will let Termite let you know where you can reach out to us if you have any comments you want to make on the stories we talked about or anything else you might want to say to us.
If you want to interact with us or our community, you can go to 80bitpodsmash.com where there are links to all of our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit. We also have links to our Discord server where you can jump right in and start interactions live with people in our community and ourselves. Ask all the questions you want. Give us all your feedbacks. Please go to YouTube and subscribe to us. Go to Twitch and subscribe to us on both platforms, because then you'll be made notified when we have new content available for you, in case we decide to surprise you and live stream a Zelda 30th anniversary celebration stream or something. Who knows?
Or something.
Just make sure that you are aware of what we're doing, comings and goings, so that you can be on the cutting edge of 80-Bit Pod Smash.
All right, fantastic. Well, we'll see you next week.
See you later.